Greetings Terrarians, Khaios here. I apologize if I sound a little bit off today. I'm still getting over the cold that kept me from talking in my last video, as well as put me off schedule for this week. I am feeling much better now, so thank you all for the best wishes. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video where I overhauled Chippy's base, and for 24 hours after that, many of you sent me worlds that you would like me to alter. In all, I got nearly 100 submissions, which is far more than I was expecting, so thank you everybody that sent me your world. I plan to do 3 builds per video once a week, so it's going to take quite a while to get through them all. I do plan on building on every single world that has been sent to me, so if you emailed me your world, don't worry, I will get to it eventually. Today, we're going to take a look at the first 3 submissions I received. And I have gone ahead and looked at this world a little bit, and I'm just going to go through it real quick with you, and I think I'm going to be building on this main base here. The first thing that caught my eye was this sun. Oops, that is not my rod of discord. So the first thing that caught my eye is the sun, and that instantly got me thinking that I want to build a sun as kind of the focal point for this base. I'm probably going to redo the base and keep elements of it. I want to have the heart shape crafting area, though I might redesign it a little bit and relocate it. I want the floating island to be kind of made out of gold materials. I don't know if I'm going to use a whole lot of semplate, maybe as accent pieces. There are 10 NPC houses here, which I will transfer into the new build, and a storage area, and it's going to be resting on a cloud. So I'm going to be redoing this base because I just envision it working pretty well. And I'm going to go ahead and grab some materials and meet up with you in just a moment. Alright, so I cleared out the world, and I'm going to start by building the sun because I want this to be the focal point of the entire base. So I've grabbed some topaz gem spark wall, and I'm going to use this to backlight the sun. The sun was originally built with some living flame. I want to go a different route with it. I want it to sparkle a little bit, so I'm going to be doing it with some gold ore, but I still want it to be backlit. So I'm going to have this gem spark ball behind it so that it can be glowing, at least a little bit in the center. So now I have the primary building laid out. There are going to be 5 NPC houses on each side so that we have the full 10. I made this mostly out of palladium and some sandstone slab and some stone slab painted white. To get this kind of pattern with a palladium column, you just don't have a block here in the middle. That's actually just palladium column wall. So you see if I just hit that with a hammer, there's nothing behind that. And so whenever you have an alternating gap, you kind of get this weaker little jutting out pattern than the usual, say if I were to take some brick and line that with palladium, it's going to be a lot more apparent. And I do that a lot, and I wanted to make it a little less of an indent. So next up, I'm going to be messing around with placing background walls. For windows, I'm going to be using lead fence painted white. I would like to be using iron fence, but with the bug, it won't create valid NPC housing. so that's not going to really be an option. I'm also going to be using disc wall and gold brick wall to accent the walls to give them a little bit more color. And I'm going to be throwing down some more crystal blocks in various places that have been painted cyan to just add even more color accents to the build. The background walls are now complete, and we have some golden and disc plate trim. I also added some platforms, golden platforms, to kind of match it and keep with the separated floors. Around the windows I decided to place some white painted green slab wall, so the border just kind of makes it pop out a little bit more. And then for the primary wall, I'm just going with some sandstone brick painted white. Next up, I'm going to be going underneath the build. The people who submitted this world had several trophies gathered, and they also had a storage room. And what I want to do is kind of make a trophy hall down here, maybe like about this tall, running the length of the building up to here, a storage room in the center, and then finishing off the trophy hall. I think that might look pretty good. And now we have the trophy hall and storage segment. The trophies are all of the trophies that were in their world originally. I didn't place them in any particular order. They could be rearranged if the players would like to. The chests are currently empty, but I will be transferring all of the materials from their previous world save into this one. And we just have the same sort of theme with the background walls and the floor, except instead of having more of a stony or golden floor, this time I wanted to have the crystal block painted cyan just to add even more color through the bottom of the build. So now that we have the trophy hall and storage room done, next I'm going to be moving on to the kind of heart-shaped build that they had hanging off of their base that was used for their crafting area. What I'm going to do is just place some dynasty wood and slope them like this. I could just use standard chains. I even brought them thinking about using it, but I wanted these to be a little bit thicker. And then in between those, I'm going to place a row of white painted rich mahogany. Okay, so I managed to get all of the crafting stations originally in the build into this heart. It's a little cramped. It's definitely a smaller heart than the original, but it fits and it turned out pretty well, I think. And now we have means of teleporting down and back as well. I also rearranged the chests in here to make a little smiley face because why not, right? So all that's left is for me to decorate the build, and the NPCs who are kind of just hanging out on the floor right now start moving in. And then after that, I will need to place the clouds just to finish this build up. And that is the entire rebuild done. So we now have the clouds, we have all the decorations. We go down here, we have the storage and crafting area within the heart. And then if we go up here, we even have means of getting down to the surface quickly. We have the sun, which I've redesigned to look a little bit more intricate. And then the overall build with the 10 Npc houses. They've already started to relocate up here. I suspect that if it becomes nighttime or if it starts to rain, they will move in fully. There's only one thing left to do. For the second world, there's quite a lot to look at. I really do like the King Slime house that we have here. and everything looks quite quaint. There's a nice little village going throughout the center of the world. And to be honest with you, if this was in 1.4, I might take block swap and just edit these houses easily. Just diversify the materials and change the backgrounds and just make them a little bit more interesting. But that's going to be really time consuming without block swap. And there's something else that I would like to do on this world anyway, because up here we have a flying ship that kind of looks like it might not have been completed. And I'm thinking that I'm going to build a flying airship. So I'm going to grab some materials and we'll get started. Okay, so we have a ship here, just basic bare bones for the moment. And I do have some metallic pieces on it, made out of tin and copper plating painted gray, because I feel like these houses kind of give me a bit of a steampunk vibe. And I thought it would be interesting to make this floating ship steampunk. I was debating different kinds of floating ships that I might be able to do with balloons or clouds or stuff like that, but I think I'm going to go with the steampunk feel with some propellers on it. So I've got this thing on the front here which will house a large propeller in the front. I've got this one in the back which will house a rear propeller. And then I'll probably do 2 or 3 on the top deck right up here as well. As for the body of the ship, we have rich mahogany painted brown with dynasty wood painted brown just for a bit of a different coloration and texture. And then we also have certain areas like the slopes and this back wall that are made out of living wood wand. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the back walls for the ship and kind of section off where I want all of the propellers to be. With all of the back walls in place and the kind of areas that the propellers are going to be made, I haven't made the propellers themselves yet. It's mostly just the gearboxes and the pistons and all of the stuff like that, including this big kind of weapon looking thing in the front. It's just going to be propeller once I get to adding the propeller blades to it, and same on the back here. I also hollowed out the aft part of the ship down here because this is where the boiler room and the engine room are going to be, and I'm going to be making it to where it looks like all of these propellers are being powered by it, so a lot of that's going to be running through the bottom deck. The reason we can walk in front of these but not fall through it is because I've actually painted these blocks white and actuated them. But these ones are painted gray and they're solid. So it gives it an appearance that it's all one cohesive unit, but you can walk in front of it so you don't have to fly up and around the propeller each time you want to walk from one end of the ship to the other. Once we get to this gearbox here, however, that's where things start getting solid again. So next up on the agenda is adding the boiler room, this engine room, and then I'll be adding some more details to the top of the ship and some propeller blades. Now the propellers in the boiler room and the engine room are completed and out of the way. So the propellers are made out of copper and tin plating with some gray paint. Half of them is actuated and half of them is not, because once I'm done with the entire build, I'll bring it up to a kind of timer system, which will make the propellers look as if they're spinning. On top of the propellers, I have these little like bolts, and basically what it is it's the red Christmas light, which has been painted gray and then turned off with wiring so that it doesn't appear to glow red. And I have those not only on top of the propellers, but I also place them in places where we might see rivets. So like down here, and wherever the metal meets the wood, I just place a few extra rivets on top of gearboxes and stuff like this. Inside of the boiler room, I just have a tank of water with a campfire under it, with some black painted platinum coin because I felt like being expensive today, as a pile of coal to fuel the fire. And then for the boiler engine itself, we have two of the steampunk boilers Behind them we have some gray painted purple rain wallpaper, which makes it look like it's connecting to the gearbox above. The pipe connecting to the boiler itself is just gray painted dynasty wood. And then the gearbox just full of cog that's been unpainted, so you can see all of those mechanisms working. And here we have all the finalizing details done. I don't know why the clothier decided to spawn and then stand on the aft propeller, but that's what he decided to do. So I went with steampunk furniture for the rooms because of obvious reasons. The lanterns and the candles are going to be the primary source of light. The captain's quarters is a little bit fancier. I have these line painted emerald or green and yellow stained glass windows. I placed them in alternating patterns to get this nice checkered feel to kind of make it look like there's bars in between each pane of glass. There is a teleporter here which will lead down to the surface, which I'll show you in just a little bit. I placed a bunch of kegs, barrels, and crates just to give a little bit of ambience. The entire top deck is one NPC house, and that includes the boiler and engine room, which is why the clothier's all the way out there, I suppose. And then down below, there's an NPC room here and an NPC room here. The portholes are just white painted, actuated dynasty wood with some green painted or lime painted glass in the middle, just to give it a little bit of a tint. You can't really see it with all of the green background, but it is what it is. And that's all of the details that I have added except for one little thing. So we'll just head down to the surface. And the mechanic is blocking it, but I do have an anchor sitting right down here which connects to the ship. You can't really climb it and get into the ship, hence the teleporter, but I thought it would be a nice little detail to add. I know that I said 3 builds at the start of this episode, but to be perfectly honest, my voice is starting to go out again because of this cold, and if I'm going to have another video done today, I need to give myself a bit of a break. So I'm just going to leave it at 2 for now, and then starting next week, I'll be doing 3 subscriber builds per episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the renovations and the additions that I made to the worlds. And thank you to everybody that participated by sending me your world saves. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you all later. Happy building.